Welcome back to the Critic's Corner. I'm Andrew Branca with the Waxahachie Sun, and here with my co-host, Mr. David Dunn with Southlake Style Magazine. Uh, how's it going?
It's going all right, Andy. TGI Friday, and looking forward to the weekend and all of that good stuff.
Oh, same here, man. Same here. Well, we've kind of got an interesting movie here today. It's called Mank. It's up for an Academy Award here, so well, I'll just let you kind of introduce that to our viewers here. So just take it away there, man.
Yes, Mank is a semi-biographical movie starring Gary Oldman as Herman J. Mankiewicz, the Academy Award-winning writer behind Orson Welles' classic Citizen Kane. The movie covers his writing of the original screenplay, Mank's life caught up in the world of Hollywood and politics, and all things going on in the 1940s. And I'm going to start with the positives of what I liked, Andy. I don't know what you feel about it, but I'm going to start with what I like in the movie. I really dug the production of this movie. Everything going into the look and feel of the movie was done very, very well. The set design evoked the same old-timey feel of 1940s Hollywood. The music by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who normally go for this synthy pop kind of vibe, go for instead a classical orchestral type of music, and it was also very, very well done. The costumes evoke the same feeling of the wardrobe in that time. And right down to just the film, like just how the film looks. Like, not only is it in black and white and looks like 1940s black and white movies look like, but at very specific parts of the movie, you'll notice a little burn mark at the upper right-hand corner of the screen, showing kind of like film stock from that era. So yeah, the movie feels like it was made in the 1940s, right alongside Citizen Kane. In that aspect, the movie's very, very special and very intriguing with that type of artistic style.
Definitely. You had mentioned the burn marks, for the old style kind of film they used back in the day, but also, the credits in there as well. They had that very Art Deco kind of 40s, cinemascope kind of feel to it. I like Gary Oldman a lot. Big fan of his work and what he's done. This was definitely something kind of different from what he usually does, which was kind of neat to see him take on that role. I mean, a lot of people know him from The Dark Knight, Batman, Tinker Tailor Soldier, Darkest Hour. He's done a lot of really interesting stuff in his career, and I thought he was definitely very, very good in this. I mean, he was definitely playing a character of who this person truly was. I mean, there's a grain of truth to his performance, and it was loosely based on Herman Mankiewicz here, and it was definitely interesting. I liked the fact that you could see how his life was before Hollywood, in a sense, turned his back on him to where he was at. How you would have these different flashbacks to his life, and how that ultimately influenced his writing of Citizen Kane. It was almost kind of like a poison pen letter to his cronies back in the day. Well, you vilified me publicly, and well, I'll vilify you forever through film. So, he kind of got the last laugh on him, and I definitely thought that was clever.
Yeah, it was interesting to see how this movie interconnected influences from his real life into the Citizen Kane screenplay. They're not true inspirations. If you look up the story behind this movie, you said this was loosely based off of his life story. It is very, very loosely based on it. And yeah, that was just, you know, they decided to go the fictional route with this movie, which I feel like there's a very interesting story behind the writing of Citizen Kane. There's a whole argument of whether or not Mank was more responsible for it or Orson Welles, how much of it was his own material versus the director's. I think that would have been a very interesting movie, kind of juxtaposing Mank's creative energy with Orson Welles. I think that could have been very, very intriguing and very engaging with the audience. The movie we have here is very, very, very self-indulgent. It's very obsessed with itself. It's very intoxicated by itself. It loves sinking itself into the lifestyle of Mank, which at parts is very animated and entertaining and amusing, and then other parts is just like, oh my God, when is this movie over? Like, I've seen him get drunk 1,000 times already. Can we move on? Can we, have him do something different in this movie?
Yeah, no, I kind of thought the same thing. I mean, there was definitely parts where it seemed to have a lot of momentum, a lot of progression. Story moved along very well. And in other aspects, it was definitely a slow burn. It was just, okay, I get you get to talk eloquently and, you're trying to be impressive to people, and everybody kind of sees you as the town drunk class clown type person. Okay. You sort of get that. We get that Hollywood is just a group of jerks in general. Most of it is. I mean, that's even true today, where a lot of them are just this elitist group of, people that don't exist in you and my mind's reality here.
Yeah.
And that definitely sheds a light on how disconnected that society is with, ordinary people. And to me, that was, you knew it, but it was definitely interesting to see that play out. But yeah, I think that was probably the big draw. It could have been a lot tighter of a movie, and I think if they would have done that, it would have been a better overall film.
Yeah, it feels like this movie, you said it, Hollywood elite. It feels like this movie is made by the inside snobs, the people that, were behind Citizen Kane or knew a lot about Citizen Kane or were infatuated with Citizen Kane and tried to appeal specifically to them.
Yeah.
I've seen Citizen Kane. You've seen Citizen Kane. I love Citizen Kane. But even with my affection for that movie, this movie was a chore to get through. It just kept going on and on and on. It felt like the movie was so interested in its own premise or its own, kind of environment that it forgot to engage the audience in the process. Like, there are people who haven't seen Citizen Kane. You got to try to reach them too, as much as any other person.
Yeah. Well, and I'll also say it did have some weird moments in it. The random nudity in the screenwriter's office. They had a woman that was topless typing at a typewriter. Okay, that's kind of weird. Like you said, Mank's whole self-indulgence kind of thing, that was kind of weird in a way, and you could kind of get maybe why he was kind of perceived as kind of a jerk a little bit,
Yeah.
And there was other parts of the movie where, okay, he's supposed to be this great screenwriter working for MGM, but when does he do any actual writing?
Exactly.
I don't see that. He's just getting drunk and chasing after women and all this sort of shenanigans.
And talking about Don Quixote and just all of it. Yeah, I agree. And it's so weird because there are parts of this movie that they have messages in there to make a point. They have scenes going on there to say something profound about poverty and fascism and all this stuff. But it just feels really out of place in this movie. The movie develops. There's one side plot in the movie where it develops quite a substantial amount of time to the 1934 California governor election and that whole race between Republican Frank Merriam and Democrat Upton Sinclair. And I understand why some scenes of that was in this movie. I understand the point they were coming across with fake news and socialism versus communism and all these other things, but it feels like it should be a different movie. It feels like, why are you telling the story about the writing of Citizen Kane? You sandwich a political story in there, and you have both experiences. Like, it did nothing in the movie. It just seemed like it was rammed in there just because.
Well, it's kind of like one of those sandwiches that you get like at a deli or something. They put too much sauce on that stuff, and they go to squeeze the two pieces of bread together, and the sauce just goes all over your hands. It felt kind of like that there was just too much there. I mean, they needed to really scale it back and give more of a focus on their story of what they really wanted to achieve. Are we telling a political narrative about politics back then that kind of mirror today, or are we telling a story about the life and story of Mank, who wrote Citizen Kane, and the type of person he was?
Yeah, both are powerful stories, but imagine this movie being like, so we reviewed Trial of Chicago 7. We both love Trial of Chicago 7. This movie is like Trial of Chicago 7, except it's condensed, it's crammed, all the good content is taken out of it, and it's mushed in between the Disaster Artist. Like, it's two things that just don't mix together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Mank, along with Nomadland, The Father, The Sound of Metal, The Trial of the Chicago 7, Black Messiah, Minari, and Promising Young Woman are all up for Best Picture. They've been nominated for that. Honestly, I don't think Mank is really worthy of that title, Best Picture. But knowing Hollywood and how they choose their movies, they'll probably say, "Hey, this is great. Let's just give this crappy movie give it this award because they tried really hard."
Not just Best Picture, but Mank has the most nominations out of this ceremony overall.
I believe it got
10 nominations.
10. Okay, I thought it was 5. Okay.
No, it has 10 nominations. And granted, for some, I can understand. Best original score, best production design. Sure, I agree with that. Best screenplay? No. Best supporting actress, Amanda Seyfried? Definitely not. So, yes. Like I said, this movie feels like it's appealing specifically to Hollywood elites, the insiders that know this lifestyle, that know these stories, that know these people. Meanwhile, regular moviegoers are just shoved in the dark, and we're just left to pick up the pieces of this broken screenplay and make something out of it.
Well,
way too much of its audience.
Well, and the interesting thing about this movie and the slew of others that have been nominated this year, I mean, it's kind of the case of 2020. What the pandemic has left over. Theaters were largely closed this year. They've just started reopening up for probably the last few months. They've slowly started to reopen their doors, which I'm very grateful for. And they're doing it in a safe manner, at least where I live. But a lot of these movies, if you don't have streaming services or anything like that, you really don't have the opportunity to watch them. And that's really the sad part, is they release these films out into streaming services. You might have one streaming service, but you might not have another. So you're not really able to see these movies. And I wish that I wish that studios would do, okay, well, it's mostly going to be on streaming, but let's do kind of a limited release. So at least there's a chance that the general public who can't afford Netflix or can't afford Amazon Prime or Hulu or HBO Max or whatever can actually go and see this. And I think that's really a true disservice. And with Mank and like No Man Land, at least No Man Land was out in some theaters. You could go see that. Not really a great film, not one I would really recommend, but it was out there at least. You could go find a theater in DFW and go see that. But but the others they're basically all through streaming, and that's kind of really a shame.
Yeah, and I think that's a whole nother conversation to have regarding video on demand versus movie theaters, the accessibility between the two. But I think we both agree, movies, the movie industry is a business more than an art. That's a very sad fact this movie touches on. And
Borat got nominated, if that will tell you anything else.
Well, and the fact that Mank secured 10 nominations, really shows you that, there's a very specific crowd this movie is aiming for, and it's not regular moviegoers.
It's very nice. That's my Borat, but yeah.
Nice job.
Okay, so we've come to the point once again that we have to give this movie a rating. What are your thoughts on this here?
Split between a 4 and a 5, so I'm just going to split the difference, 4.5. This movie is very, 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 very disappointing. I think if it was a little bit tighter in the editing, a little more refined in the writing, and had a better understanding of its premise, this could have been much, much better. But at the moment, all you have is nostalgia, and that lasts the first 15 minutes of the movie.
I'm going to give this movie a 5, just for the fact that if they would have paid enough attention to detail and to their story, like they did with the smaller elements, nostalgia, so to speak, it would have been a great movie. But it just wasn't there.
It really wasn't.
Well, I think that's going to do it for this edition of the Critics Corner. So if you have any thoughts, questions, or movie suggestions, or just want to talk movies with us, we'll be glad to. So shoot us an email. Check us out on Facebook. That's going to do it for today. So we will catch you guys back again in the corner, and look forward to speaking movies with you.
See y'all later. Have a great weekend.